Yeah, what do we got, guys? 3 o'clock today, right, is the trade deadline around the NBA. We have our NBA panel here, DraftKings contributors Matt Meiselman, Garion Thorne, Rotowire's Nick Whalen. We were just talking moments ago here. The guys were another Woj bomb. Kings are acquiring Milwaukee's Dante DiVincenzo in a 4-team trade. So Marvin Bagley is going to the Pistons there. Garion, do you know anything else? Have you seen anything else?
Yeah, it seems like Serge Ibaka is going to end up on the Bucks. 4-team deal, so there's going to be a lot of kind of little weird things, probably some second-round picks. Who knows? But yeah, it's getting started. Yeah,
it is, and it's important for everyone to make sure you're following DK Nation on Twitter because they tweet out the most up-to-date updates, and today is one of those days, especially before you start placing like your bets or building a DFS lineup, like you need to know what's happening on deadline day around the NBA. Gare Bear, so your favorite player prop here is a 7-game slate, and again, we have to be smart with like where we're putting our money on this day.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny to say this literal seconds after Milwaukee was involved in a 4-team trade, but when you were kind of looking at this slate, I felt like the game that would be least impacted by the trade deadline was going to be Bucks and Suns because, yeah, DiVincenzo might be on the move, and he is on the move apparently. But realistically, like the top 6-7 players on each of these rosters is not going to change heading into tonight's game. So I think it's okay to kind of start analyzing the props in this one. And I think I just want a big part of the over for Giannis's point total. It's set at 29.5. I know the Suns are a fantastic defensive team, but all I see when I look at this game is a decent script for the Bucks, a script where maybe they're not, blowing out an opponent by 15, 20 points by the time the fourth quarter starts. I mean, I am shocked Giannis played as many minutes as he did in that Lakers game. I thought he could pretty much sit the entire fourth quarter, but he didn't. And when Giannis plays at least 34 minutes in a game, the last 6 times that's happened, he's averaged over 33.5 points per game. He's hit this over in 5 of those 6 games, and I just don't see a scenario where this game isn't tight going into the fourth quarter. So I look at Giannis, I look at what he's been able to do recently in terms of scoring the basketball, and it seems pretty far-fetched to me that he wouldn't reach this number if this is a competitive game.
All right, Nick, hook me up with your favorite player prop.
Yeah, I had Giannis over 46.5 points, rebounds, and assists, so kind of along the same line of thinking as Garion. If you check right now, that's not available. I assume it'll be back up soon, once everything shakes out with this trade. It looks like Josh Jackson and Trey Lyles are on their way to Sacramento as well. So that, the Kings, they don't rebuild, they reload. Another blockbuster for Sacramento. If you want to look outside of that Milwaukee game, I like Ja Morant over 1.5 threes. You can get that at plus money, plus 140 at the DraftKings Sportsbook. He has been on a little bit of a cold streak from 3. He's just 2 of his last 16 from deep over the last few games. But prior to that, he had been on a hot streak. He went over this number easily in 3 straight games. I think he's in a really good spot to bounce back tonight against what will likely be a shorthanded Pistons team. You're sending a couple players out. The guys you're getting back aren't going to be available tonight. So really good spot for John Memphis.
Okay, Matty.
This has been a fun last 15 seconds for me. I'm just watching Garion's face react to the Raptors trade with Goran Dragic finally getting moved to the Spurs. Yeah, I don't think
Get out of here.
I don't think
Matt Young, baby.
I spoiled it for you. Yeah, I don't think this move is going to impact player props too much. The game I'm looking at hasn't been affected yet, but we do have to keep an eye on the Knicks. I like an over for points too with Evan Fournier at 15.5. It's a little bit contingent on Knicks injury news. We have Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel, Quentin Grimes, all questionable. RJ Barrett's out. I think this could be a game that goes small, especially if the Knicks centers are out, because then the Warriors don't really need to play Kevon Looney as much. And it seems like Fournier is not being priced up quite enough for Barrett's absence. I think his usage goes up there too. But if you take Grimes out of the rotation, which is the other key here, then Fournier's minutes become a little more secure also. And part of the problem with Fournier sometimes is he can just not play that great, and the Knicks will go with the hot hand approach and use some of their younger players. Removing Grimes removes one more potential way that Fournier doesn't see the court at the end of the game, so I'm pretty interested in that. Either way, though, I do like 15.5 points on the over. I just like it a lot more if Grimes isn't playing.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers for you, Garion, for Dragic. I know that's probably going to be pretty emotional for you.
It's tough to part with such a cherished member of your roster, but I'll get over it. I'll find a way.
Yeah, I know you will. You'll overcome the adversity. Matty, what's your favorite team total to go over?
So I'm trying to figure out if some of these moves that have happened in the last 45 seconds have really impacted what I'm thinking here. Not a ton, actually. The team I'm going to go with is the Pelicans at 106.5. They have some new players that are playing today, and we do have to make sure that CJ McCollum is going to be active. But the Pelicans recently have been playing Jackson Hayes at the 4, playing some bigger lineups. I think they probably go away from that at this point. They can start Devontae Graham, they can start CJ McCollum, and they can start Brandon Ingram at 1 through 3. They're not going to take Herbert Jones out of the starting lineup. He's been too good defensively for them. So I think we see the Pelicans move to more of a traditional lineup, not this lineup with 2 centers in it, essentially. And the game against the Heat, I think, should be a little more high scoring than people are expecting. So more so on the Pelican side, where I think their offense does get a pretty big boost with McCollum. But I think their defense is going to take a hit too. And overall, this game could just be a little more up-tempo than we're expecting. So I'm leaning there. I don't feel amazing about any of these today, especially with all the moving parts. But I do like the over for New Orleans.
Yeah, Nick, I realize there are a lot of moving parts here. But is there a game you're looking at, a total that you're like, okay, that's going over?
Yeah, I've been looking at the same one. Honestly, that same game. Miami, if you want to look at their implied team total over 106.5, based on that 4.5 point spread, they lead the league in over percentage. They go over in almost 62% of their games this season. You get Tyler Hero back. This is the first time, it's really a rarity for Miami, despite leading the Eastern Conference, to have everybody healthy. Kyle Lowry missed a bunch of time. Butler, Hero, all these guys have been in and out. Bam missed a couple months. So they'll finally have essentially their full roster outside of Markieff Morris. So I think they'll be in a really good spot. And even though the Pelicans, yes, they'll get CJ McCollum in uniform tonight, they definitely got better in the immediate future with McCollum. Could be a little bit scrambled integrating a player like that on the fly. And I think, one of the underreported parts of that trade is they definitely got worse on defense. Swapping out a guy like Josh Hart for CJ McCollum. I mean, Devontae Graham and CJ McCollum is a bottom 3 defensive backcourt in the league. And especially, McCollum having no time to prepare for this game. I think it should be a high-scoring one. I think it should be a fairly easy win for Miami.
Garion, favorite team total to go over?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Memphis Grizzlies. It's a high total, 118.5, but they've been fantastic offensively their last 5 games. They're scoring over 121 points per 100 possessions. They're operating at the 5th fastest pace in the NBA across that span of time. And I think the key thing with Memphis, especially on a slate like tonight's, and, with Detroit missing 2 or 3 rotation players, it appears, and we're only still, 3.5 hours away from this deadline. Memphis's depth is just really important here. Maybe Ja Morant only plays 27 minutes tonight against the Pistons. Maybe the fourth quarter gets a little out of hand, but I trust Memphis's 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th players going up against whatever's left of this Pistons bench. I still think there's such a massive advantage there that it's not like Memphis is going to stop scoring points when Ja Morant and JJJ decide they can sit for the rest of the night. So I just think Memphis is going to score a ton of points in this game.
Guys, got about a minute and a half to go in the show. Let's just bring it home here with favorite team to cover. Matt.
Yeah, I'm going with the Knicks, and I actually don't care a ton about Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel for this. I just think the Warriors are really overrated right now. We saw last night's game, they got blown out by Utah. And to me, the Knicks are not hurt that much by RJ Barrett being out. I think Fournier and Burks and Kemba Walker are at least as good as Barrett, maybe even better. So I actually think the Knicks and Warriors are pretty close teams right now because no Draymond Green, Otto Porter's not playing. This line's 9 points. I think it should be closer to 5 or 6. I really do think the Warriors are very inflated here.
Garion, which team covers tonight?
I'm going to go with the Raptors. They're 8-1 ATS. Their last 9 games on the second night of a back-to-back. They're 22-6 ATS in their last 28 games overall. Pretty decent chance. Eric Gordon is traded at some point today, and Houston's an even weaker version of themselves than they are right now. So I'll just take the Raptors.
All right, Nick, bring us home.
Yeah, I'm with Matt on the Knicks. The Warriors are 9-1 straight up in their last 10, but they have not been all that great of a team in that span. They got smacked around by Utah in their last game. I think they beat the Knicks, but I think that 9-point spread is a little much. And I also like the Clippers to cover at Dallas. 6.5, a little bit too high for me.